Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com. Today, we are going to do yet again another video reaction. This time is from a very popular YouTube channel called Bold and Bankrupt. And this particular channel is huge, almost 4 million subscribers. And basically the channel is about this British citizen that he travels. Usually most of his content is on Eastern Europe, Russia, Belarus, Ukrainian, you name it. And usually he's a very peculiar gentleman, very charismatic, and he travels around to small towns, usually the sketchy side of a city, usually goes to slums or underdeveloped small towns. So he's not a fashionista, he's not a chic kind of posh videos that he does. Is very raw, is very natural, very peculiar, and he hangs around and talks to maybe the local people, the local old men, senior men, or the local small shop owner and such. So it's very peculiar, and usually he does this kind of content on Eastern European countries, small towns, such. But he decided to come here to Venezuela, specifically to Caracas, and he tried to pull off this formula here in Venezuela, and I'm gonna react to it. So let's start.
And studying Spanish for one main reason, and that was to enable me to one day visit Venezuela and see for myself what life is like here. Well, I've just flown into the country, into Caracas, about an hour ago. I'm totally on my own, but I'm ready to explore. I've already found a mosaic. Join me.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Venezuela? Probably not very positive images, and that is not surprising. Venezuela has an image problem brought on by a seemingly endless crisis that has seen its economy contract at an astronomical rate. But it wasn't always like that in Venezuela. In the past, it had a thriving economy built on oil, and its capital, Caracas, was the most modern and wealthy in Latin America. And so I traveled all the way from Peru, over Andes Mountains and along Amazon River, to finally reach a country I'd always dreamed of visiting and to see how things were now. Was Venezuela really as bad as its image? And more importantly, would it ever be able to relive its past glories?
Well, first, of course, he mentions the part, very clever of him, that Venezuela at one point was a very rich country, one of the richest countries in the world, and he's surprised that is not the case on recent years. So good for him to doing the research and pointing that out. And also he mentions that at some point we had a direct flight from the Concorde from Paris to Caracas, and actually just a handful of countries, very posh cities, had this privilege of having the supersonic Concorde flight. And yeah, it's a fact that I mention all the time, just in case you don't know how rich was Venezuela back in the old days. So good for him to pointing that out.
If I said I wasn't a little bit nervous. We all know Venezuela's reputation for criminality, and unlike every other YouTuber that has been here, I'm totally on my own. I've got no contacts, no friends, no knowledge. So let's see. It's bloody noisy. Let's see if I can survive the streets of Caracas on my own.
Well, he started this video and his trip. He mentions that He didn't do any previous research regarding getting a local guide or something. It's just him putting boots on the ground. And as usual, on his kind of content, he just went to the quote unquote shitty side of the country. He started on the western side of Caracas, that in case you haven't watched my content regularly and you don't know that much about Venezuela, you know that in Caracas, usually the western side of the city is the less developed, is the less wealthy side of the city. So, of course, he starts just mumbling around over there, and also points the fact that people is very friendly. He is actually quite surprised that he gets always, greeted and usually on a very kind manner. And he's pleasantly surprised, as I can see on the videos. You can see on the video. So, and also Mr. Ball is a very charming and very kind man himself.
There we go. We're into it now. We're already into it. We're into the swing of things. We've met our first Venezuelano, our first chamo. And now we're into it. I feel better. I feel relaxed. They're not so bad here. It's not as dangerous as they say.
Aha, Sheshe.
See, they're a friendly bunch here in Venezuela. Buenos dias, señor.
Also, he points out the fact that Venezuela is actually way more safe than he originally thought that it would be, compared, what you see or read on the news. And it's always something it's a fact that I always point out, that Venezuela is a lot safer than most people think. It's not as safe, of course, like, let's say, a Western European country, or, well, not as much as the United States, but still, Venezuela is very safe, and he is pointing it out. He feels very safe with his camera all over on the less developed side of the city.
Mario, January 23, named after the day when democracy finally came to Venezuela, back in the 50s. But we've come to see the statue of Comandante Hugo Chavez. Let's move away from the music. It's a little bit too loud there. Move away. Chavez was an incredibly charismatic man, and he was elected and then re-elected by Venezuela's, the poor and the downtrodden, who in reality were sick of being ignored by Venezuela's corrupt leaders. High oil prices helped Chavez run social programs in the barrios. He nationalized the oil industry to help do this. And for a long while, things went very well, until they didn't. And here, we've crossed the street, and look what's here. We've got the Church of St. Hugo Chavez.
Well, right now, he is visiting a very popular slum here in Venezuela, in Caracas, of course. It's called 23 de enero, or January 23rd. And this particular slum is known as a bastion for people that was a very big supporter of the late President Hugo Chavez. He also points out that on who Hugo Chavez was, and the good, the bad, and ugly of Hugo Chavez. He's a very despised man right now in the country. However, he still has some support. But he also talks about how basically he changed the country, sadly not for the better, but it's still loved by a niche kind of population here in Venezuela. He still has, let's say, like 15-20% of support around the Venezuelan people.
¿Periodista o es individual?
No individual.
Que agarre la mano a los compañeros allí, pues, para que lo orienten.
¿Sí? Gracias. Hola, señor. Hola. Buenos días. ¿Es limpio?
Sí.
¿Todos en buena condición? Sí.
Mantenimiento bien.
Cosas para niños.
Ya.
¿Y qué es eso?
Comunal.
Comunal, ok. ¿Y qué puedo hacer en un lugar comunal? ¿Es qué?
Con todos los ubicatarios, donde llega el alimento y todo eso.
So we've come into a little community center here in the barrio 23,
And I suppose this is where they run education programs, teach people things, organize security. Before we were told that in this part, the people run the security of the barrios. And here you can see some writing. I don't know what's going on. And probably that's why they were keen to ask me what I was doing, because they're in charge of the situation here, of running it, making sure everything's safe. ¿Es seguro aquí, en tu barrio? Sí, sí, sí. Pero yo no vi policía. Es gente.
Nosotros mismos cuidamos la comunidad.
Ah, entiendo. So he's confirming that here the people control the barrio so that it's safe.
Mr. Ball also visited a centro comunal or communal center that it's not like they are important, but it's something, it's a political thing that the government here, when of course Hugo Chavez was alive, is creating these centro comunales or communal centers where you had, let's say, the most local, and I'm not going to say politician and public officer, but yeah, people that are close to the government are in these communal centers that they are in most neighborhoods and municipalities, not in all, but they are, it's a kind of like a political thing, but at the same time, they manage some food deliveries and some services for, let's say, the poorest Venezuelans on any given neighborhood.
Wow, I've discovered a little shop under a motorway flyover. Let's have a look at it. This is how people are surviving. Buenos días, señor. Quiero ver cuál cosas tienes. Aquí. Wow, look at it. This is how people make money here in Venezuela. They just sell things wherever they can find, basically. And here under the flyover, they've set up a shop selling children's toys, magazines. Oh, ¿qué es eso? ¿Funciona? ¿Funciona?
Dale para atrás.
Oh, okay. Ah, I see. We're off.
Dale, tienes que
We're off to Maracaibo.
Personas de aquí vecinos que la traen para venderla. Sí, entonces.
So finds them from different people and stuff. It's a little bit similar to the one that we found in Bogotá. Y libros también tienes.
Como tipo ameno.
Bueno.
Bíblico.
Bíblicos.
Tenemos novelas.
Okay.
Historias personales del mundo.
Wow, interesante. Están muchas interesantes cosas. Wow. Maybe I should buy this for the malandros. Para malandros.
Sí.
Okay, claro. Oh, no, Etch a Sketch. Wow, yo no vi eso para muchos años. Hace muchos años. ¿A cuántos años tú trabajaste aquí?
Aquí 8 años.
8 años aquí, siempre aquí.
Sí.
Wow, 8 años. ¿A qué es eso? Sí, yo puedo ver.
Soy arquitecto, sí, yo soy
¿Puedo?
arquitecto.
Sí, puedo.
Es el título del señor.
Ah, ok, interesante.
Y eso es todo.
Oh, I see. So you've got some awards. Okay. Monsalve Amanda. ¿Es tú? Wow, I don't know what he got this for, but pretty cool. ¿Sí?
Y Héctor Monsalve, que trabaja en el ejército.
Oh, eso es más viejo.
Sí, este es del año 87.
Entiendo.
Año de Universidad Central de Venezuela.
Sí, 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 sí.
Arquitecto.
¿Tú eres un arquitecto?
Sí, sí. Y vivo aquí en Otahuaca.
So this guy's an architect, but he has a shop under a bridge. ¿Tú trabajaste como arquitecto antes en tu vida?
Sí.
Pero ahora, si tú quieres ganar dineros, necesitas aquí, porque
Ya.
no puedes trabajar como...
Exacto, como ya no, porque...
Difícil. Situación es muy difícil ahora.
Así es, situación.
And then he visited this bookstore that is under a bridge that is managed by an architect that he also sadly lives under that bridge, and apparently he's a very well educated man. He's also very polite, and sadly the situation is one of the worst things about Venezuela is that many people who are highly educated don't have opportunities in order to have a good standard of living due to the fact that they are professionals and they are not generating the financial, let's say, accolades in order to have a decent standard of living, despite the fact that are well-educated men, in this case, an architect. Of course, it doesn't get as draconian as someone that is well educated and has to live under a bridge. Probably this is one of the most extreme examples, or sadly, they're just a minority of highly educated professional both men and women. They are underachieving due to lack of opportunities.
We're here on the main square of Petare, the old historical centre, named after Antonio Sucre, Grand Marshal of Ayacucho. Ayacucho, a town we visited in Peru where there was a battle in the past for the independence of South America. And there's some malandros watching me. Anyway, Petare used to be a town. It was founded by farmers from the Canary Islands, in fact. There's a similar climate here to the Canary Islands, and so everyone is staring at me. I've never been so nervous. Anyway, yeah, that's it. But it's not a town anymore. It got so big that it kind of got encapsulated into Caracas. And here we are, being stared at by the entire town of Petare.
Well, right now on this part, Mr. Ball visited Petare, which is the biggest slum here in Venezuela, and I talked a couple times about Petare. Probably the ugliest place that you can find in Venezuela, and still Petare has some charm because it was actually was a small town, and later when the city of Caracas just grew a lot, just became a part of Caracas, but still that city was founded by Spaniards many years ago, and still has a very beautiful and charming and picturesque old town, just with a plaza center, a plaza mayor, as the Spaniards call it, and a quite picturesque colonial architectural, beautiful place that you have on Petare. So he is pleasantly surprised that he thought Petare was uglier than he expected at the first place.
So we've stopped off in one of the streets high up in the barrio of Petare, just so we can show you here how the houses are built. Look at them. House on top of house. Just heard the word gringo. Hola. Eva, just show me here. Look, we're up in the barrio. Look at all the houses just on top of each other. Whoa, all the way down there, the whole side of the mountain. The whole side of the mountain. It's difficult to see because it's very overcast and drizzly and grey. But the whole, just thousands and thousands and thousands of houses everywhere, every square inch. Wow, the biggest barrio in all of Latin America. Hola, señor.
Él habla inglés.
Inglés? Aquí, a little bit? Yes? Okay, that's perfect. Wow. So pleased to meet you. So pleased to meet you. I'm having a tour of Petare. I've heard so many things, and I wanted to see it for myself.
All right.
You're living here.
And you like it?
Yeah, I like it so far. Yeah, people are friendly.
Yeah.
Somewhat
we're friendly with outsiders.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think other people from other parts of Caracas believe that everybody here is a malandro or something like this.
Yes.
But of course, here is just normal families trying to survive, making a life.
They're wrong.
And then Mr. Ball, very true to his style, he said, I thought this place is going to be a shitty place. I want to get to the shitty part of Petare. That was very fun. I laughed my rear off when I listened to that. And yes, you're going to find a lot of shitty streets on Petare. And well, the funny thing is, well, he of course started driving around through Petare, and he gets a lot of feedback, a lot of intel of the local people from Petare. And yes, here in Venezuela, there is this stigma, this stereotype, the people from Petare usually are malandros, crooks, something. And it's not the case. Most people in Petare, and I always say that, is very hardworking people, solid people, they are kind, have decent family values, and of course you get a few rotten apples on Petare. But still, people actually is quite educated, quite polite, and very kind.
comprar una cerveza, por favor. Cerveza de Venezuela. Más mejor, yo no sé qué tienes aquí en Venezuela. Yo soy de Benjamín, de Inglaterra, un actor de petare, mostrame cómo es petare. Yo escuché muy peligroso, pero todo es bien.
No, no hay que tener peligro.
¿No? Antes tal vez.
Antes sí.
Con ella, no peligroso. Solo, sin ella, yo no sé. ¿No?
Con ella.
Es the safest place, más seguro lugar en Venezuela. Entonces, ¿por qué hay una reputación para peligroso si no es verdad? ¿Por qué?
Hace 10 años atrás.
Antes.
Muy
Sí,
peligroso.
antes, sí.
Muy peligroso.
Entonces, situación con economía tal vez es mejor ahora.
Sí, un poco
Aquí-
mejor económicamente y en seguridad
Sí.
ha mejorado mucho.
Sí,
Porque lo que eran las bandas criminales,
sí.
pues
Han disminuido
han disminuido muchísimo.
por
Por la misma
por la
policía,
misma-
por
no.
inmigración.
I like this part of the video when he starts talking with a local man from Petare, that sounds like a pretty intelligent, reasonable man, very well educated man, and he starts talking about the situation here in Venezuela, and he mentions that the economy has improved just a little bit, but improved at the very least. And the situation regarding the security, the safety in Venezuela and in what I'm seeing on the video in Petare is actually improved a lot, and is something that I always point out, of course, using hard data, statistics, that the safety here in Venezuela has improved, not only on data and statistics, also on the streets. You can feel it. Of course, I live in Lecheria. Lecheria is very safe regardless of the situation. However, in other parts of the country, the feedback that I get, the intel that I get is, yeah, every city here in Venezuela has improved significantly regarding safety. Also, I want to point out that basically let's say the mezzanine, the suite of the video, when he talks a lot on a plaza surrounding these two buildings, those are called Las Torres del Silencio. El Silencio is this part on the center west side of Caracas that those towers are a little bit old right now. Usually those towers were a landmark of the city during the 70s and the 80s and such. And he used it as a talking point on his particular video.
That about 20 kilometers from the capital, Caracas, is the sea, the Caribbean Sea, no less. So let's jump on some transport and go and check out the beach. See what it's like down there. Ok, señor, creo que aquí podemos. No necesitas más. Okay. It's the Caribbean's worst beach. Officially, look at the state of it. Flipping heck.
And then Mr. Bolt visited La Guaira. La Guaira, and I talked about La Guaira a couple of times. And La Guaira, of course, is the coastal area that is very close to Caracas and has La Guaira is huge, so it has a bunch of small towns and small cities close to the beach. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of beaches on La Guaira. I always recommend, because we have a bunch of beautiful beaches, and probably La Guaira has the worst beaches on Venezuela. However, they're well located, because if you live in Caracas and you love some beach trip for yourself. Mr. Bolt visited the worst, the ugliest beach that I have ever seen here in Venezuela, even for La Guaira standards, that I'm not a big fan of La Guaira beaches. He went to probably the worst, but it's funny because Mr. Bolt, if you are a fan or you follow him from quite some time, you know that he has this knack, this ability to find the ugliest, the worst places in any given country, and I know he will pull it off in Venezuela.
They brought me a drink I didn't ask for. It's like a sugary brown water. It's kind of nice. With a little bit of lemon maybe. I don't know what it is. ¿Cómo se llama esta?
Pompilón con pillón.
Papelón con limón.
Papilón con limón. Eso, eso. See, I'm learning how to be a Venezuelano. Chamo. Listo para comida, mi amor. Oh, gracias. Wow, gracias. ¿Cuál pescado? ¿Cuál?
Roncador.
Roncador, gracias. Roncador.
And lastly, he also had a very decent meal on La Guaira. It's kind of a tradition here in Venezuela. If you take a beach trip, you sit down and have a lunch of fried fish or pescado frito, and usually it's a homemade thing made by a grandma or an aunt or something, and they have this salad with carrots and such, and the fried fish with salt. It's very tasty. One of my favorite Venezuelan food. And also, he had a sip on papelón con limón. It's a popular soft drink that we have here, and actually it's quite tasty, and it's healthier than drinking Coca-Cola and such. So I love, I love this kind of videos of Mr. Ball. I never thought that he would make one about Venezuela, and I will leave up to you the feedback. I want to read it on the comments. I'm gonna leave the link in the description below if you want to check out the whole video. It lasts around an hour or so, and yeah, I enjoyed watching the video and reacting to it. So shout out to Mr. Ball yet again. Great content indeed. Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.